Do you like I just wash my hair. I wash my hair and wash my body separately because I'm trying to keep my brows dry since they're still healing from um, what does she call it? Ombre? I think she called it ombre. It's like a way to have your eyebrows kind of tattooed in, except it's not as deep and as a tattoo. So it's semi-permanent, and it's using a needle blade instead of using a needle instead of a blade to etch the color on your skin. So that my eyebrows look very dark and defined, and looks like there's hair where there's not. So today, the topic of conversation is going to be the risk of communicating with your spouse. So my client and I, one of my clients, she really hesitated to, I think over inertia joined and she waved. Thanks for waving. Hello, over inertia, over in Instagram. And so one of my clients, she was like, well, I do not want to talk to my husband about that topic because if I talk to him, then I will be at the mercy of his opinion. And I'm no different. Like, for a while, I just thought, well, if I don't talk to my husband about some perspective that I know might be differing, then I won't have to consider what he has to say. And therefore, I can always continue believing what I believe, and I don't have to consider and weigh out his opinion and not have it sway me or affect me. Here's the thing. When you communicate with your spouse, when you're sharing your perspective that might be differing, you're not opening some sort of back door that gives him access to planting some seed within you that will take over your mind and take over your ability to function and take over you. That's not how it works. When you share a perspective with another person, be it your spouse or not, you allow an exchange of information. If anything, you might learn something new. For example, like when I do my videos, one of the things I never talk about with my husband is spirituality or my theory on it all. And I think, oh, he's more agnostic. He might be Buddhist at best. He's not going to agree with my manifestation of the multiverse or, things of that nature. So why would I talk to him about it? And so then I noticed that whenever I do my videos, do these daily live streams when I'm talking, like I have this extra voice on the side that pretends to be my husband. And I would ask myself, well, what would my husband think? Would he agree with this? Would he disagree with this? Would this, then I start changing my language. I start changing the words I use as if I'm trying to get approval of this person over here that's my little puppet. And it's not even a real person. Hey, Megan. Hey, Dan. And so like, I'm living in this paradigm that's not even real. I'm making up this conversation that doesn't exist instead of just having a real life conversation with your spouse and sharing your supposedly different opinions and seeing what he says. Like, I noticed like when I actually sat down and actually talked to my husband, actually had a conversation with him, he starts keeping me really accountable. He starts saying, well, he would use the word multiverse because that's my word. Or he might say, that doesn't sound like you're living a soul elevated life, Tuan. A soul elevated life person would put away their laundry. And it's kind of funny at the same time. And I'm like, you're right. When you're right, you're right. So I'm putting away my laundry because surely if I'm going to talk to an audience or talk to people about having their life together and doing stuff that's meaningful and keeping their space organized and clutter free and a space of creation, yeah, they probably would not have a crib full of clothing. Like, they would have their stuff put away. They would tuck their clothing in the in their drawers like Marie Kondo would, you know, like the life-changing magic of tidying up. Like, you would have things together, right? Because you walk your talk. You're an example of who you challenge other people to be. So my challenge to you is, instead of holding yourself back, instead of living in some fake paradigm that doesn't exist, like, sit down, share your supposedly differing perspective from a person you care about, and see what there's to see, and see what they say, and allow this space to be a space of exchanging information. And never, ever think that just because you exchange information, just because you can't unhear what that person just said, doesn't mean that you have to like take that on for size and it's like a seed that gets stuck in your heart or something like that. You can expand on the perspectives. You can ask clarifying questions. You can challenge each other. You can really add a lot of dimension to your original thought, your original differing perspectives. If anything at all, your perspective would get that much wider, that much deeper, and so would the person across from you. Like, you just have a wider, broader perspective, and you learn more about each other and each other's perspectives. And if anything, instead of having that fake gap between you and the other person, like, because I thought my husband was a certain way and he would say certain things, I allowed that to be a space between us. And I said, surely he wouldn't get me. Surely he wouldn't get this thing that I was talking about, because we don't agree here. So that's going to be something that forever keeps us separated. But I've learned that when we actually share our perspectives and we share our opinions and we ask clarifying questions and we really get to know what the other person is thinking and saying, and really understanding more about why they think what they think, it actually builds a closeness, because then you're one step closer to understanding the other person better. And then there's no longer that gap of what you think they might think, or they might say, how they might respond to what you believe. You just know instead. And then that is so much more powerful than living in some sort of fake paradigm based on your theory, your assumption of the way it might be. Like, it's so contrived, it's so fake, it's so la la land. And we live that way. Like, we really allow ourselves to live that way. We make these weird assumptions, and instead of just facing it head on and having a direct conversation with someone we care about, we just allow this theory, this fake knowledge to keep us apart. It's this fake space that we put there. Instead, we could just have it dissipate by having a real honest conversation and realize that that space is really not that big, and maybe it's smaller, or maybe it doesn't even exist. But until you have that conversation with your spouse, with your loved one, you don't even know. You don't even really know what the other person's thinking. Like, my coach says that yes, even life coaches have life coaches. She says that this moment now in your body, at this exact age of your life, with the people that you interact with at that exact moment, at their age, at their moment in their life, is unique always. This single moment will never exist again. So just because your husband said something in the past, or something last week, or just because you believed something last week or something years ago, doesn't mean that you're not going to have a new perspective. You're not going to have an even more in-depth perspective. So you can make these assumptions about what you think your spouse would think or say, or you can just ask and know for sure, which is a whole lot more efficient and effective and genuine. And it's so true. Like, the person I was 2 weeks ago is not the person I am today. Especially with having a life coach in my life, I'm doing transformation after transformation after transformation. Even the way I am before I hired a life coach and after I hired a life coach, like, I had dinner with all these ladies, and my coach said I was almost unrecognizable from who I was before and who I am now. So you never know. You never know how a person transforms over time until you actually sit down and have a real conversation with them. You never know. Allow yourself to be surprised. Stop looking for evidence to support your theory. Just allow them to speak and say what they say and see what there is to see and see what there is to say, and just allow it to be organic and natural without preconceived notions of how you think it's going to go and you predicting what they're going to say and you like preempting and trying to figure out what you're going to say before they even finish what they're saying. Just be with them. Just listen to what they're saying and hear what they're saying, and then choose and decide what you're going to say next in response to that. What clarifying question are you going to ask? What detail would you like to dig out? Like, what would you like to understand more about? And really have a profound, powerful conversation with the person across from you. It's totally achievable if you set the intention. If that is your desire, so be it. It shall be so. That's it. That's today's message. And if you didn't already know, I'm a life coach. If you saw any value in this video, please share it. And later I'll post something to put it in a context, put it in like text form, since some people like to read and I like to read. Sometimes I have time to watch videos and sometimes I don't. So I like to do both ways. I do the live streams on a daily basis. And for the most part, I do a post on a daily basis. I allocate 15 minutes per day to write a post. And sometimes the post gets finished and sometimes it doesn't. So if it gets finished, then I'll post it. That's it. If you're looking to live a deeply profound, deeply fulfilling, infinitely powerful, transformed life, and you would like to have powerful relationships with the people you deeply care about, then reach out to me. I'm a life coach, and I love having deep, powerful conversations with my clients and pretty much anyone I interact with. So if you join in my circle of energy and you're in my presence, I guarantee that we will have a deep, meaningful, powerful conversation, and you really will get how magnificent and powerful you truly are, because you are a manifestation of the multiverse. You are a child of God. You are of divine origin. Of course, we'd have a deep, powerful, meaningful conversation. Of course, you would get more access to your true divinity. Of course. I send you love, light, profound clarity, infinite possibility to create the life you desire to live that is completely aligned with your soul's expansion and growth always. Here's you living a soul elevated life. I will see you tomorrow.